Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another of our intermediate Just Too Easy sessions. So today we're going to have a closer look at j2e5. So my name, despite what under my screen probably says, is Nikki Kimball. I've used Mary's login because she set up the Teams meetings, and unfortunately she has to be there and she can't be here. So as I said, my name is Nikki Kimball. I'm one of the educational consultants here at Just Too Easy. So I'll be running today's session. So in today's session, we're going to have a look at where you can find j2e5 on your launchpad. And I'm going to start the session with a very basic overview. So part of that basic overview is I'm going to give you an activity example, which is going to be making a poster. And we're going to look at how you can add text and add basic content. So we're thinking things like sound and pictures, and then how you can save that activity. So that's a really easy Key Stage 1, lower Key Stage 2 activity to get you started. And then how to think about maybe using j2e5 in early years. And my suggestion will be making a jigsaw activity. So I'm going to show you how you can use any picture and create a jigsaw. We're then going to have a look at making an interactive j2e5 file, so a draggable resource. We have lots of these draggable resources in the library. So I'm going to show you how that's done. So we're going to look at adding content, locking things to the page so your students can't move things, and also how to make things movable or infinite clones. And then I'm going to finish up the session with an advanced use of j2e5 for presentations. So this is more of a Key Stage 2 activity. We're going to look at adding multiple pages, adjusting the page layout, and using advanced tools such as j2 measure, hyperlinks, animations, and embedding video. And then finally, I'm going to show you some j2e5 resources that we have available in the library. So first of all, you're probably wondering what is j2e5, and how we like to explain it is it's a digital piece of blank paper, essentially. So you can do so much with it. I liken it to PowerPoint, but it actually it's a lot more child-friendly than PowerPoint in that it has free-flowing formatting. You can click anywhere, add anything to any space on that page. You can add multiple pages really quickly. You can link the pages together. It's just really easy to use. So where we can find, I knew I'd start coughing, where we can find j2e5 on your Launchpad, when you log in, so you will log in the normal way that you log into Just Too Easy. And it is this lovely red tile here. And when you open it up, you'll see I've got this lovely blank page. So we're going to start the session by creating a poster. So I'm just going to show you two examples that I've created. And I have tried to link them into the English literacy curriculum. So that's an example here of persuasive writing poster. So this is a travel poster. And this is what I'm going to show you how we can create shortly. So you can see here I've added some text, I've added a picture as a background, I've added some clip art images with the flag, I've added text in boxes, and I've added additional pictures here. So that's one example. And then I've also got this Saving the Planet information poster. So this is a great way of linking this in maybe to your PSHE curriculum or PCSH, whatever the acronym is nowadays, or your citizenship. So all I've done here is I've added, again, images and text and layered them up with a background colour. Okay, so those are two examples of how we can create posters. But as I said, I'm going to show you how to create this travel poster here. So we're going to look at adding text, adding photos or pictures, adding sound bites. You can also add word lists for students that might need it. I'm also going to showcase how you can use text to speech and speech to text for those students that need that bit of additional support. So we've opened up j2e5 and this is what it looks like. Okay, so we've got our blank piece of paper. It always opens in portrait, which for our poster is ideal. But just to show you, at the bottom of our page here, we've got our page layout tool. So we've got things like we can change the orientation of the page by clicking this button here. So that is landscape now. Then we go back to portrait. If I want to change my background color, what I can do is I can click on this button here, and then my colors are along the right hand side. So I can change my background color. So I've got all my colors here. And I've also got my saturation levels here. So if I wanted a more of a pastel color, and I've got my chromatic colors at the top. Okay, and I'm actually going to switch that off. You've also got paper backgrounds. So this button here allows me to choose different paper backgrounds. Now the kids love them. I hate them personally, but each their own. So you can click on any of these and it will add in a paper background. So that's a really nice and quick way of just making that poster look a little bit more professional, a bit more different. If you add a paper background and you want to get rid of it, you do have to click on the white box at the top and that will take that away. Other things that you can do that we're not really going to look at today, but they are available to you. You can also switch on grids. So when I tick that box, we've got our grid there. Those are 1 centimeter boxes. You can make it isometric. You can change it into inches, and you can also make that a snap grid. So that is there should you need to use this maybe for a maths activity. This works well when you're creating things for maths. We've also got the measure tools up here. So you've got a ruler, protractor and a compass as well. I'm going to switch my grid off. So I said I was going to do this in portrait, but I'm actually going to do this in landscape now that I think about it. So I want to create a travel document. So we're doing a persuasive travel document as part of our English curriculum. And I'm going to think about a country such as Italy. So what I want to do is I want to add a photo as a background on my page. So to do that, I'm going to use my photos tool. And that is right at the top here. Can you see here? We've got this little person button. And that is going to open up my search function and my picture tools along the right hand side here. So whenever we click on any of these functions, the tool itself will open along the right hand side and you'll get more functionality there. So at the moment I can search, and this will search within my file. So anything you've used before, anything you've searched for will save into your my files. So for example, I have already looked at Italy. It would help if I could spell Italy properly, wouldn't it? There we go. So I have already dragged images from for Italy, so I can reuse those if I wanted to. But I might have not searched for that particular item before. So I've actually got this button here, which is my web search. So I can click that and it saved that keyword, luckily, at the top. I think it's because I haven't put a capital letter. Yes, it is. There we go. If I hit enter, there we go. Those are all my images. Now it will add clip art in there. So we've got things like maps, flags, which are really useful. But I want some images. So I'm going to search for some nice images. So let's pull this one in here. And I can add that onto my page. So that can be then moved and dragged around anywhere on that page. So really easy to use. I just click and grab. I'm going to place it right in the top corner. And when I let go, you'll notice I've got these blue boxes. So to resize that photo, all I need to do is click and hold the corner blue buttons, and I can make that much bigger. Now it will look blurry until you let go, and then it'll refine it. So don't worry if it goes blurry whilst you're resizing. And there we go. We've got a beautiful image of Italy. I can add additional images on top. So I can add that on. I could add a flag on top. I could even add a map on top. So there we go. I've got some lovely images. Other things I can do, I can choose just clip art. So that's ideal if you are looking for things like maps or flags. You would choose your clip art. Excuse me. We've also got grayscale. So if you just want black and white photographs, or if you just want transparent backgrounds. So these are clip art, where it's sort of not square. So if I use transparent, these are things like this. So if I add this on here, so you can see that white background should disappear. There we go. Okay, so that gives me the outline of Italy. Now, if I add something onto my page by mistake, so for example, maybe I want to delete this. If I click on it, hit the delete on my keyboard, that's going to take that away straight away. So there we go. I've got my image as a background and I've got my images layered on top. Now, the problem with this image being a background is it's movable and it can be a bit tricky to layer things on top. So what we can do in j2e in j2e5 is that we can click on any object and we can lock that to the page. So to do that, we just click on the object we want to lock. So I want to lock this big picture as my background. And you can see I've selected it because I've got these blue boxes around the outside. And I'm just going to tick this box that says lock. So that means now when I click on that picture, it doesn't select and I can't move it. Now, if you've locked something to the page and you want to unlock it, all you have to do is double click on that item and you'll get this unlock box that arrives. If we tick that, and then you select what you want to unlock. So whatever is locked will have a red box around it. So if I click that image, that is now unlocked and I can move it around again. Okay, but it is important for this activity that this particular background is locked. Otherwise, it can get tricky for the students to layer things like text. So I'm going to lock that to the background. And I can move my images. Let's move these a little bit. Might put this over here and resize that. And let's move this and make this a little bit bigger. There we go. Okay, so now I can add in some text. So you can see when I click my cursor anywhere on that page, I don't know why that's not working. There we go. My cursor allows me to type some text. So I'm going to add in some text. So I'm going to say incredible Italy. My spelling during these webinars is atrocious. There we go. So I've got incredible Italy. Again, the same as I did with my picture, I can double click that. I've got my resizing boxes, so I can just resize and move that around. Once I've resized, if I want it on 2 lines, what I can do, if I hover on the corner, the side of that box, I've got that sort of double-sided arrow. And if I drag that in, that's going to resize that box. So that will sort of make that box smaller. Okay. My text is selected, so I've got all my options here along the right-hand side, so I can make that alignment so it justifies in the middle. I can change the colour of that text, so let's make it red, for example. I can change the font. So I've got some standardised fonts here. I've got my standardised ones, and these are ones that I've previously used. You've also got the More Fonts button, so we can click on that, and we've got lots of choices here. There's almost 1,600 fonts here. We can filter them according to things like display or handwriting. So for example, display, and I can move this to the side and I can actually click on any of these fonts and see what that text looks like at the same time. So that's quite nice. There we go. And then if I just click X, that will remove that. Now, if I really like a font, I want to use it, I can tick this box here and that will save that. So that is a lobster font. That will save that into your favorites. So these ones here at the bottom of your page are your favorites. So those will be easily accessible to you. So there you go. And then you can do things like change the size of your font. You can make it a standardized font, for example. And there we go. And I'm going to move that up here. There we go. Other things I can do, I can click anywhere. Let's add in some persuasive writing. I can't think of any off the top of my head. If you love food, you should visit wonderful Italy. There we go. And obviously your spell check will demonstrate when you incorrectly spelled things. I can double click and resize that. I can change the font if I wanted to. Now we do have a font called Lexend, which is designed specifically for students with dyslexia. It helps with the reading, something about the weighting of the words, I don't know, and the formation of the A's and the B's and the D's and that kind of thing. So that's well worth a look. Other things that we can do, we can fill that box. So we can put it in a box by ticking the fill. And we can also click on this box and change that fill color. You can switch on talk as you type. So this will now.
It is an amazing.
I don't know why that didn't say country, but it should have done. So your students can get that feedback if they need to. Other things, we can double click and we've got our text to speech at the top. So we can hear what we've written already.
If you love food, you should visit wonderful Italy. It is an amazing country.
There we go. And then lastly, you've also got your speech to text, so students can dictate their work instead. So let's click here and let's use our speech to text. Now I have to, let me get some inspiration from my, here we go. What are you waiting for? Book your dream holiday today. Book your dream holiday today. And there we go. Now it only does a sentence at a time. If I add text, that has added that onto my page. I can add another sentence if I wanted to, so I could use that speech to text again. Again, we can resize that. We can fill that. Let's do it a different color this time. Let's go for green, and we can align that, make it bigger, and pop that up the corner. There we go. So there we go. We've got a very quick and easy poster example. So yeah. So that is adding in pictures, that's adding in text, that's changing your text, adding sound. I knew there was something else that I was meant to do. So we can add sounds onto our poster as well. So to do that, we go to this button up here, and we've got this record sound function. So we can record. So let's say, incredible Italy. Now, because I have selected this particular text, you can see it's got the blue boxes, that would add that to that text box. So I've actually done that incorrectly, but I could let's re-record that. So I'm going to say book your dream holiday today. So if I go book your dream holiday today and add to selection, that now will be an interactive box. But if I click anywhere on the page and now hit the sound button, and I'll say incredible Italy, and that has add to page, so that's going to allow me to add that sound bite in there. So there we go. Now just to highlight, j2e5 has two modes. So at the moment we're in the edit mode, and it always opens into edit mode whenever we open j2e5 off the launchpad. But we've also got a view mode. So what that allows us to do is to just view what is on the page and to engage with any interactivity. So sounds, this sound bite will only play in the view mode. So to go to view mode, I just go up here where it says view, and there we go. There is our poster. I can click on this button here, book your dream holiday today, and it will play. I can click on this sound, incredible Italy, and there we go. And it removes all of the buttons around the outside. And then to go to the edit mode, we just click on edit, and that will open that back up. Okay. So to save our file, we go up here to the save button, and then we're just going to say Italy travel document and hit enter, and that will save into our My Files. So if you're not familiar, My Files is here, and there we go. There is my Italian travel document, and you also notice it saves all of the images that I've used as well, and it will save the sound separately. So that's brilliant if you're wanting to capture evidence of students talking or explaining things and recording audio. It all saves separately, but it also saves within that document. Okay, so that is our Italian travel document. So we have looked at adding text, adding photos, adding sound bites, I haven't done word lists. I will do that later, I promise. Adding text to speech and using speech to text as well. So just some ideas for posters. Now, these are all available in the library. So we have some examples for students to have a look at and to have a go at. So this is a great one for Internet Safety Week. So digital stranger danger, excuse me. I knew this cold was going to keep me this afternoon. So as I said, this is in the resource library, and this is adding in shape boxes and then adding text into the shape boxes, and these are clip art images that we have available within that web search function. We've also got becoming a digital citizen. So these are, again, boxes that we've added and lines and background images. And this one is the enormous crocodile, which is a wanted poster. All of them are in the library. Now we're going to look at making a jigsaw. So this is a great activity for your early years students. So j2e5 allows us to add an image. You can turn these images into jigsaws, add additional jigsaw options, save and share with pupils. So to show you this particular activity, I'm going to go to the view mode. And here we go. I can drag this around. Let's click these together and that will fit together. My arrow is down there. Let's add Mr. Angry in the top, and you can see we've also got a solve button. So that's going to solve it for us, and a scatter button. So that will scatter it. And we've also got a hint underneath so the students know kind of what they're matching to. So to create this, again, I'm going to open up j2e5 and I'm going to use a picture. Now, when I open up my pictures, I can drag any picture and turn it into a jigsaw. So you see, I could use my Italian picture that I've just created. I can do a search for anything. So maybe if you're looking at forests, you could do a web search and that will add in a forest. But I've actually created something in JIT earlier and I saved it as an image. So I'm going to drag that onto my page. So we might be doing beaches as a theme with my students. Now, I personally prefer to have the jigsaws on a landscape page. It's just personal preference. But there you go. And to turn it into a jigsaw, all I do, I'm going to get rid of this here. I'm going to click on this image and you'll see my picture options along the right hand side now. So I can do all sorts of things. So I can change how that photo, what shape that photo is. So you can make it even more difficult. You can make it rounded or an octagon. But we've got this button that says convert to jigsaw. So as soon as I click on that, it converts and then it changes to my jigsaw options. Now by default, it will be a 4x3 jigsaw. You can make that easier by, for example, having it a 2x3 or a 3x3. You can make it infinitely more difficult by making it a 10x10, for example, which might take them a while. Obviously, the more complex the jigsaw, the more I would encourage you to make it a bigger picture. You've also got the option to scatter and solve. So you can click on those and scatter it and then solve it again and see how it works. But you've also got the option to have a solve button, a scatter button, a scatter on load, and a hint. So you can switch all of them on if you want. And then you can convert it back to a photo. So if you don't like how it looks, you can convert that to a photo. Now this works best, again, when you are in view mode. So if we go to view, and if I click scatter, there we go. There is my jigsaw. So I can move these around. Let's just start to solve this. And as soon as I get sort of remotely in the right place, it will click together, which is nice. There we go. You get the idea. There we go. And then it will reset itself. So if I was using this with younger students, I would just have that maybe up on the whiteboard or up on your panel, or whatever it is that you call it now, and have that in view mode. They don't have access to any of the buttons. The edit button is at the top, so they would need a bit of adult support to hit that. And it will just keep refreshing time and time again. Now, if they had completed it and you wanted to save it as evidence, if you go to edit, you can click save then, and that will save into your My Files. So that is how we can create a jigsaw. So you can do that with any particular photograph. So these are examples of jigsaw activities. We do have these in the library. So there is a Merry Christmas one. That will be part of our advent calendar this year. And we've also got a polar puzzle. I think I've done a few more actually. So these are all available to use and to share with your students in the resource library. So this one is really nice actually. So there we go. Okay. Right, I'm going to talk about making interactive resources now, because these look really complicated, but they're actually quite easy to make. So these are two examples that we've got in the resource library again, and they allow us to drag things around the page. So certain things are locked and certain things are movable. So these are two examples. I've got suffixes here. Again, this is a resource library resource. So I can open this and we have these suffixes at the end. They can drag them. Jess is the faster in our class. No, that's incorrect. So we can drag this into the bin and that will get rid of it. So we can say fastest. Now this opens in the view mode. Okay, so once the students have completed this, they can go to edit and they can save, and that will save into their My File. So that is one example. We've also got a Christmas one. It's creeping closer and closer. So this is a really popular resource. We have locked a Christmas tree image in the middle, and we have these draggable decorations that the students can drag onto their tree. So they have some draggable lights as well. They've got a draggable star. My mouse isn't working very well. So they can start making their own lovely Christmas picture. And then, of course, same as they have done before, once they have finished, they may need some adult support with this, but they can click edit, click save, and that will save into their My Files. So I'm going to show you how I did this. So I'm going to open up j2e5. Again, personal preference. I prefer it to be in a landscape because it just gives you more space. Personal preference. So that Christmas tree resource, all I did was added in a Christmas tree. So I'm going to search for Christmas tree. In fact, I'm going to do a web search for a Christmas tree. I'm going to use a clip art because I just want, there we go, the image. So I'm going to drag that image. I don't know why that. If that comes up, that means that it has copyright, so you're not allowed to use it. So that's why that that warning comes up every so often. How irritating. Let's keep going. There we go. Okay, so I've got my Christmas tree in the middle. It's not the nicest, but you know, I'll go with it. And the same as I did with my poster, I don't want that to be movable. So I'm going to click on my Christmas tree and I'm going to tick that lockbox. That means, let's try again. It's the one thing I didn't check. Okay, let's hope this one holds. There we go. Again, I'm going to click on my tree and I'm going to lock that to the page. And then I'm going to do the same with my decorations, but I'm not going to lock them to the page. So I'm going to look for a bauble. And I'm going to drag a few of these onto the page. And I might have Christmas lights. And let's look for clip art. And there we go. I've got some nice Christmas lights here. There we go. Now with these Christmas lights, I might want to rotate them slightly. So can you see there's a little sort of funny arrow. So I'm just going to rotate them so they're a bit of a jaunty angle. And what I might want to do is actually have them at a different angle. So there's a way for us to make clones or copies, should I say. So as I zoom in, if I've clicked on that item, you can see there's a little blue circle with a cross in it. If I click and drag, that will create a copy of that particular item. So you can do that on any object, text, sound, photos, anything. And then I'm going to rotate that so that is looking the other way. So there we go. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight those objects. In fact, I'm just going to make this one a bit smaller. I knew I was going to do that. Sometimes if you make them too small, they disappear. I'm going to highlight those objects and I want to make these infinite clones. So to do that, I'm going to go down here to this box here. This is called the details box. Okay. You probably won't notice it unless it's been pointed out. I think I worked here for a year before I realised this button was here. I'm going to zoom out again, and you've got these options here at the bottom. So you've got movable, so that means it is movable when you're in the view mode, and you've also got copies. So I'm going to tick copies because that's going to allow me to make multiple copies of those baubles. And then I'm going to do the same. I can leave that open. Excuse my mouse. And I'm going to drag and highlight those lights. And again, I'm going to tick copies. And there we go. And now when I go to the view mode, I'm going to have to start using my trackpad. I can drag these lights and I can drag these baubles and I can have copies and copies and copies, as many copies as I want. So this is obviously really nice for this sort of Christmas activity, but other examples, you might want to do things with coins. So this is a great way of doing that. You can import coin images and they can have infinite clones of pennies, of 5p's, of 10p's. Things like suffixes, nouns, initial letters, numbers. There's all sorts of uses for this particular activity. So there we go. And then you hit edit. And then, of course, you can click save. And we can make that Xmas Draggable resource. And I can hit save. And that is going to save into my files. So obviously with this one, I spent much more time with looking at changing the background color, adding boxes. You can see those sort of chests. So those were just chest images, and then I locked those to the background. Obviously, I've added some text in, and again, I've locked that to the background. So the tip I'm going to give you is anything that you don't want the children moving needs to be locked to the background. Anything that you do want them moving, just highlight it and make it into a copy using the details button. So just to show you one more time, just to make sure that you know. So we go to edit. You can see here this text here. I have locked that to the background. So if I double click, you can lock that. And then these, if I click on those and I go to the details button there, I have to make sure that that copies button is ticked so they can then be dragged when we're in the view mode. So if I go to view, you can drag these onto your page. So there we go. Okay. Right, let me just clear some of this. So other interactive resources that we've got in the library, this one is brand new. This is one that I made last week, making your own Christmas wreath. Again, that works in exactly the same way as the Christmas tree resource. So you can drag these onto your wreath, make a lovely Christmas wreath. So that's a nice thing to do for Christmas. You can print that out as well. So once you've done it, you can go to edit. You do have the print option if you wanted to. Other examples, we've got this one, which is all around emojis or daily feelings chart. Again, through the library. And the children, just every morning, they come in, they open this file and they drag that, then click edit and click save. And it means that you get an overview of how each child is feeling every morning, because you have an overview of that. So just to show you, in your pupil files, if your class was to do that, for example, you can open up your class. Now, you don't have to go into every student's folder. What you can do is tick list files here. That's going to give you an overview of all of those activities. So if your student was to do that daily feelings chart, I don't think anybody has done that daily feelings chart, you'll be able to see it in the thumbnail how they were feeling, for example. So that is a really nice way of using that particular resource. I'm going to close some of these. And then this one is a draggable repeating patterns activity. So great for beginners of maths and recognizing patterns. Again, all we did was make these into copies. So these are all images. We've added in shaped boxes. We've also added in an object to make it the bin. And the children can drag these objects to make that repeating pattern. When they've completed it, they click edit and click save, and that will save a copy to their My Files. Okay, now the last bit of our session is going to be a more advanced version of j2e5. So this is for multi-page presentations. So we're going to look at adding images and text. We're also going to look at pasting images from external sites, adding multiple pages, linking objects to files, pages, or web links, animating objects, and collaborating with other users. Now, we probably are not going to have enough time to get through all of this. However, what I will say is we have this live lesson ready to go in YouTube. It's all around the solar system. So our live lessons, just to give you an idea of the concept, is they're streamed live once a month, but they are recorded, so they're available on demand as well. This one was recorded last academic year. And it's me teaching your year 5, year 6 classes about how to create these multi-page documents using the solar system as a context. So if you do want a bit more time, if you want to know how to do this from start to finish, you can have a look at that on YouTube and follow along. It's a great way of doing things, and you can play it and your students follow along. So it's a great way of upskilling for both you and your students. So if you're doing the solar system at any point this year, bear that in mind. So this is an example of the multi-page hyperlinking document. So all of these are linked to different pages. So the sun is linked to a sun page. And we've got text on that page. We've got clip art objects, and we've added animation. The pages hyperlink to different pages. We've also got, should have sound somewhere. I don't know if I've added sound. Let's go to the Earth page. And there we go. And we've even got some movement in there. That took me ages. But it was worth it. But it did take me forever. So I'm going to show you how to create this. I'm just going to close this down. Here we go. So I'm going to open up another j2e5 file. Again, I'm going to flip my page so that it is in landscape. There we go. And the first thing I do with this particular presentation, because it's all about the solar system, is I'm going to turn my page black, like space. I know it's not technically black, it's very dark blue, but you know, we'll gloss over that. So to change the color, we're going to tick this box, and then we're going to go up here to black, and that is going to change that page color. Now, the easiest way to do that is to do that on your first page and then make subsequent pages. So we can make multiple pages at the bottom, but because we've changed our first page color, it will then copy that page color onto each subsequent page. So that's great if you want all your pages to be the same color. Obviously, if you don't, it doesn't matter. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in my sun and a couple of my planets. So again, same as we have been doing, we're going to go up to our picture tool, and I'm going to search for sun. Now that's searching in my files, but I'm going to look in the web search. Now, because I want this to be kind of, I can look in the clip art and see what there is, but it tends to be these kind of cartoonish ones. So I'm going to untick that, and I've actually got one that I can use here because it's on a black background. I can drag that over and you can see that blends quite nicely. And then I'm going to search, instead of resizing that, I'm just going to keep searching. So I'm going to look for Earth. And there we go. There's another great image that I can use. So anything on a black background. Let's look for the moon. And Mercury. And is it Venus? I feel like I need to check this. Let's go back. Mercury. I haven't labelled it. How annoying. So, well, Mercury's out. Let's try another Mercury. There we go. So once I've added them onto the page, I can then resize them. So I'm going to click on that resize. I'm going to make that sun really big because obviously we know the sun is very big. And I'm going to tuck that up the side there. And I'm going to make Mercury a little bit smaller. Oh. If you make it too small, it does disappear. We are working on that. Now, I'm actually going to rotate that because obviously the sun is casting the light from this side and the shadow is that side. I'm going to make Earth a little bit bigger and I'm going to make the moon a little bit smaller and hopefully it doesn't disappear. There we go. And there we go. So that's as much as I'm going to do at the moment. Obviously, you would spend a lot longer with your students. Then I'm going to click here to add some text. And I need to make it white. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click where it says color, and then I'm going to click white. Now the trick is then you need to click somewhere else on the page to see where your cursor is. So that should now be flashing white. Okay. Now you could make that yellow or red or blue or whatever color you want, but I'm going to use white. I'm going to say the solar system. Again, I can double click that. I can change my font. I can resize, move it around. I could link that to sound. So because I've got it selected, I can again go to my sound button, go to record sound. Let's just record that. The solar system and add to selection. So that now is added to that particular piece of text. Again, I can click here and let's say click on the image to find out more. So I can double click, make that a little bit bigger. And there we go. So I've got some instructions there as well. So now what I want to do, so I want to add another page because we're going to add some more information about the sun, for example. So to do that, I'm going to go down here to the add button and that's going to automatically create a new page for me. So it will retain my text settings. So I've got my white text. So I can click anywhere and start typing. So I could say the sun. Again, I can double click, resize that. I could change the font if I want to. Move that up there. I can add some more imagery. So let's add in, let's look for the sun. In fact, let's look for the sun. Let's do a web search. So here we've got a nice infographic that we can use. We can have some solar flares. Nice. And that's, let's look at this one as well. Oh, let's not. Once you've added your images, obviously you can make them bigger. Let's click this and make this much bigger. There we go, that's a nice bit of information there in visual format. Other things that we can do, we can add in animations. So to do that, I click on the object and you've got this button that says animate. So I can click on that. We've got lots of options here. So we can click action. There's lots of different ones. You could have it following a path. You could have it growing, hiding. Pulsing is one of my favorites. So we're going to make it pulse. There we go. And You can change things like the duration, so you can make it slower. So there we go. And you can change the trigger. So at the moment it's always, but you could have on mouse over, on start on click, or a certain time after opening or a time after click. Okay, and then that's it. That will save that animation now. So you can create a different animation for each one. So that's what I did with the moon in the previous one. That was following a path, which can be a tricky animation to manage. But there we go. Other things that we can do, we can add in embedded videos. So this is really quite a high level skill now, but quite a nice skill to learn. So I actually have a video ready to go. So this is a great video that we've got in YouTube by National Geographic's Designed for Students. So I've got this open. So what we need to do is we need to grab the embed code, which sounds very complicated, but it's not, don't worry. So underneath this video, you'll notice this button that says share. So we're going to click share, and it's automatically got our URL here. We don't want that. What we want is this code here, which says embed, which again looks very complex. It's not, don't worry. So I've got this copy button, so I'm going to click copy, and then I'm going to go back to my page, and I'm going to go up to my multimedia button, and I've got video, sound, embed, and then all I'm going to do is going to right click and paste and click OK, and that now is giving me a box with my YouTube video. Now this won't play unless we're in view mode, but this is quite a nice way of, you could add this YouTube video into a j2e5 file just to share with your students, so you know that they're watching it just within a j2e5 file. They can't then click onto other videos. There's no advertising on it. So it is a nice way of doing things. So now if I go to view, I can actually play that video within that file.
Our solar system is one of over 500 known.
So there we go. Now the other thing that I want to do is hyperlink this sun to another page. So we can do that by clicking on that particular image, and we've got this option for link. So that's going to open up our linking box. Now you can link to external sources. So all you have to do is paste a URL. So for example, maybe you had a video on YouTube about the sun that you wanted, that they had watched, that was linked to this particular file. You could paste that URL in there. You can also browse, so you can link to other files. So maybe you've got something saved in your My Files. Maybe they've done, I don't know, a sun poem or something similar, or a sun fact file. They can link to a different file that they've got. But they've also got this drop-down menu here, and we can link to a page. So at the moment I've only got 2 pages in my document, so I can link to page 2, and I'm going to leave it like that. You've also got the option to open in a new window. So I would use that if you're linking somewhere external, so things like another file or another website, because it will open as another tab. But for this one, we want it to link within the document. We want it to link to that page too. So I'm going to click OK. Now that, again, anything that's interactive won't play unless we're in the view mode. So we're going to go to view. So now when I click on this sun, it takes me to my sun page. So there we go, quick and easy. Now, the last thing that I promised that I would do is to show you how to add in word lists. So these are really good, especially if you're creating activities for your students to complete. Useful if you're using J2 PDF or J2e5. You can add these word lists and you can share them with just the students that need them. Oh, thank you. So we're going to go to the big W at the top. Now these are all my word lists that I've already saved in my word lists. So anything that you do create will save here, and it will also be available in j2create. So this is where you would create those word lists. So to create a new one, you go to New. I'm going to say a solar system, and I'm just going to add some words. Now, it doesn't just have to be words, it can be phrases as well. My brain is going blank. Solar system. There we go. That's enough. So if I click save now, solar system 2. There we go. Click save. That has now added to the bottom of my particular document. I can edit these word lists by clicking on the little spanner here, so I can make that larger. So maybe you've got some students with visual disabilities. We can make that larger. If I hover over any of these, I've got text to speech that works with my word list, so I can listen to that.
The sun. Solar flares.
And I can click my cursor anywhere. Oh my goodness. Let me close that. Should have closed it. And I can click on any of these words or phrases, and that will type that into my document. So that is available for you to use. Now, because I've added that into my word list, it's only available to me. If I want my students to access it, I open up my word lists again and hover over that word list. I've got my little blue circle. If I click on that and I go to share, I then have to choose which students want to access it. So it might be the whole class. It might be teaching classes, which we have looked at in previous webinars. So you can set up smaller groups of students. So this is great maybe if you've got your SEND students or your high flying students. They could have different word lists for each group. Okay, so you can see that I've got literacy group 1, 2 and 3. So this might just be for literacy group 3, for example, and I can share that with individual students. So only those students would have access to that word list in this particular document. So there we go. So then if I wanted my students to access this particular file, so maybe I've done this as a starter activity and they then have to embellish it and add more text, add more planets, add more information onto those pages, I would just say the solar system. I mean, my typing just gets even worse. There we go. I'm going to say 22 because I'm sure I've done that a fair few times now. So that is, again, that is saved into my files. If I want my students to access that particular file, I can do that within j2e5. So this is a nice feature. If I go to these little 2 people, I can share that with my class. Now, because I've shared that with my class, the file itself will share. The word list that is attached will only share to the students that I have selected. So you've got that bit of scaffolding for the students that need it, and the students that don't need it don't even see it. So that's a really nice feature. And then the last thing I'm going to say is you can make these collaborative. Now, this is a sort of a tricky concept, probably something that I wouldn't do unless I was working with year 6, which is your P7s if you're joining us from Northern Ireland or Scotland. But you can make that a collaborative document, so more than one student can work on that particular document. So you will need to set that up and share that with the group of students and make it collaborative. But that is an option, and they can then all work on the same file. So that is our multi-page presentations. Again, I do have that live lesson on YouTube ready for you to follow along with your students should you need to. So for once, I've finished a little bit early, which is quite nice. So just our contact details, just a reminder, if you need to get in touch with us, you can do via edteam@j2e.com. I'm really good at answering questions. I have sent out multiple videos this term to people asking questions. So if you want to know how to do something, if you've got an idea for an activity maybe, and you don't know how to do it, just let me know and outline the activity and I'll see if I can do a little video for you showing how it's done. We are on Facebook and X, formerly known as Twitter, so those are our handles. And also j2e5 TV is our YouTube channel where you will find this webinar, other webinars, live lessons, lots of videos. So please have a look for those. So I'm going to have a quick look at the chat, see if there's been any questions. I'm sure Sophie's managed to answer all of the questions. But if anybody's got any questions, please feel free to add them in the chat and I can do a little showcase if my mouse will work. It's been driving me nuts. I've even put in some fresh batteries and it's still not working. Oh, and also we do have a feedback form in the chat. I would really appreciate any feedback that you can give us. I will be emailing you with the feedback as well. So it takes about 3 or 4 minutes max. It's just a forms and you just tick. So if you have any questions, please pop them in the chat. If not, thank you so much for giving up your precious time. I hope you've enjoyed it. And we hope to see you for more webinars in the future. You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Good. I'm glad you're looking forward to using it with your class. Feel free to tag us on any of the social media once you've created some stuff. We love to see pupil content. So, right. Thank you very much. I'm going to close the meeting now. Enjoy your evening.